Welcome to the show, everyone. Happy Monday. So, last night, President Trump posted a now deleted AI picture of himself depicted as Jesus Christ healing the sick. It's a very controversial statement, by the way. The post offended Christians from all denominations. Honest question today. Should America make blasphemy laws great again? We used to have them. Also, China warns the United States not to interfere in their existing Iranian trade agreements. So does China intend to ignore the U.S. military blockade of the Strait of Hormuz? And could this result in a kinetic conflict between the United States and China? And Eric Swawell, we can report to you today, will not be the next governor of California. He has exited the race because of leaked intimate videos, which I don't know if you gentlemen had the displeasure of seeing, and also allegations of sexual assault. We're going to cover this as well as Tulsi Gabbard's latest revelations, bombshell, shocker. The people that worked to impeach Trump did so in a treasonous way. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us. As always, we're broadcasting here on LFA TV live from the great state of Arkansas. We got a fantastic show. Hope everybody had a great Sunday. Rob Spencer, my co-host, is with us. Rob, happy Monday, sir.
Happy Monday. Glad to be with you in studio, Paul. It's an honor as always. Glad our good friend Eric Haynes is joining us today. Looking forward to getting to talking through all of that stuff. Swawell. Oh wow, yeah. That's
yes.
That dude was a creep anyway. Like you could just tell everything that he says just comes out in this creepy vibe, you know. And so
real creep, yeah.
It's
one of those you just knew in your gut something was not right with him. You just kind of knew it.
Well, regardless, I am a Christian. I am not offended by that picture. I just think it's dumb. I just whatever.
Yep.
I think there's going to be some people that are offended by it, and we're going to talk about it in great length. But I think more people just thought, oh, it's just stupid. Just don't do that. You're just giving fuel to the lunatic left when you do that.
Eric Haynes is with us. Eric, how are you doing, sir?
So great and happy to be part of the conversation.
Also, you paid, it says here in your lower third, $3.69 a gallon for gas today out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Tough day at the gas pumps.
So and Rob, don't pay attention to what your lower third says. Whatever you do, don't.
Okay, I didn't even see it. I was just talking. So
yeah, well, maybe you will. Maybe you'll see it at some point.
It's going to totally distract me.
I know, but maybe you just need to take a look at what it says. It's a
great.
callback from last week.
Okay.
And Eric and I were going to surprise you with. I'm not going to tell. I'm going to make him have to.
I can't wait.
He's going to have to watch the Rumble feed in order. It's up there for a while.
Indian aroma connoisseur.
There you go. How does it say So we were gonna hit you with that. I think Thursday, or was it Wednesday? Or it was Wednesday, and you couldn't make it at the last minute. But Eric and I got the biggest kick out of that.
Still do.
It was all about you. Talking about your trip to. That was on Monday. That was last week. Anyway, your trip to Dolly World or wherever you went.
Dollywood.
You went to Dolly World?
No, your trip.
Dollywood.
Your trip.
That's
me.
Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg.
Yeah, I didn't go to that. We went to. It was Anarchista. If you're familiar with Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which is just gorgeous. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the Indian ass was.
There he is.
Yeah. Okay. That's where it was.
Okay. There it is. We can change it for you tomorrow. Whatever you want.
I'm gonna get canceled.
Whatever you want, brother. Whatever you want. All right. So here we go. Let's get to it. This is the post, and I'm thankful that President Trump deleted it. President Trump deleted his post with the AI image portraying him as Jesus Christ, following intense backlash. The right move. To me, I mean, I saw this last night, and I definitely, rolled my eyes as well, because I knew it would obviously invite criticism. But I think it's totally understandable. I'm certainly offended, just in terms of I was offended by this. Yes, I was like, why do this? Why put yourself? And I know there's people that have tried to say that that's not Jesus, but that's clearly what it was.
Trump said it wasn't Jesus.
Well,
he was like, "Well, I'm a Red Cross worker."
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, all right.
Well,
man.
yeah, that's the.
You made it worse.
That's actually the next clip here. Here was President Trump explaining. He was asked. This lady went to DoorDash, or this DoorDash lady was there giving him some food, and then the press asked this question.
Hormuz Strait and various other things. Do you have any questions?
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So
I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
Trump MD, baby.
Come on, baby.
I'm not buying that one, folks. Not buying that one, folks. So yeah, I mean, I don't know any Red Cross workers, that were dressed like this, that have like supernatural light beaming from their hands. What's interesting though is whatever these soldier / angels I don't know, that you see this other weird looking
Statue of Liberty.
Is that what that is in the
Yeah.
background?
Yeah.
That's the Statue of Liberty.
Apparently.
People remarked that it did not look holy. But this is what happens when you AI generate anything. I sent this to some people last night, and they immediately said, who in the world is running, the account? But President Trump on camera said that he's the one that posted it. I mean, he took personal credit because he doesn't run his account all of the time, and we all know this.
Yeah.
But this actually, I mean, it sparked condemnation from, people. Obviously, it sparked condemnation from Catholics because this kind of started right after. He posted this right after he went on Truth Social and attacked Pope Leo, calling him weak on crime, terrible on foreign policy, talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all other Christian organizations had during COVID. So he brings up a lot of points here, and it's no secret that when the Pope became the Pope, when Pope Leo became the Pope, people went back and looked at his social media, and before he was the Pope, he was criticizing. He criticized, border security. He criticized Trump. He criticized Vance. So it's no secret that Pope Leo, has adopted these false presuppositions of the left that are designed to virtue signal about, essentially promoting borderless. Like I said, that's no secret that, that's who the Pope is. And so the president going after him, I'm not a Catholic, right? I know you guys are not Catholic. So this particular post, while you could make the argument it might not be wise to make angry a billion people that are Catholics in the world. I think that's what the number is. You could make that argument, but it didn't affect me really the way it would affect a Catholic. I know Catholics in the conservative movement who were offended, but then it was the follow-up post, which was Trump as God, which I believe Jesus is God. Right, that's what the Christian doctrine teaches.
How soon was it after?
It was very soon. It was like the next post, or maybe there was one post in between. It's hard to tell now because again he deleted it, and the reason President Trump deleted it is because Christians were understandably outraged by it, whether or not he thought it was a Red Cross worker or not. Which I'm sorry, I don't buy that. But this is kind of where we are. Just a few of the comments here. Jack Posobiec on the post attacking Pope Leo says Cardinal Prevost, which was who he was before he was Leo, was promoted by Pope Francis and given a prominent Vatican position during his papacy. We found Prevost's Twitter feed last year where he was trashing Trump and Vance as well as the border enforcement and praising George Floyd. But interesting about George Floyd, do you remember the images of George Floyd, the AI images of George Floyd as Jesus Christ?
Oh, I didn't see those.
Do you not remember those? We were all outraged. There was no ambiguity. We all knew what was trying to be communicated here, right? So calling the photo blasphemy is biblically speaking, that's exactly what it is. And I'm glad he took it down. I wish President Trump would have apologized and said, made a mistake. There was a lot of different ways to handle it. I know everyone wants to move on, and that's great. Moving on to whatever the next thing is. Donald Trump is a man. Men make mistakes. Clearly, men make mistakes. I've seen a lot of people, try to excuse this. I don't understand why we want to rush to excuse it. He made a mistake. I know he's not a pastor, right? I get it. Was I offended by it? Yes. Won't be the last time I'm offended by something the president says, does, or posts, I'm sure. But this was a bridge too far. Like, mean tweets are fine, but for a lot of people, this was a bridge too far. People are acknowledging and express their opinions about it, and it is what it is, So Donald Trump is not God, and that is the allegation. To your point about giving fuel to the left, a lot of people think that, that's one of the things. Trump thinks he's God, and all a post like this did was reinforce that criticism of him. Right, so it's good that he took it down. I'm glad that he took it down.
Eric?
Well, let me just give you another example. I'm not just picking on Donald Trump. Look at this. The tech company...
Put me in the camp of those not offended, though. I'm just going to go ahead.
I wasn't
go ahead
offended
and say it.
I wasn't offended.
I respect the fact that you were.
That's totally fine.
I absolutely was not offended.
I wasn't offended by it because I know who the Lord Jesus Christ is, and it's not Donald Trump. And so, therefore, any sort of depiction, somebody could say, well, he's depicting himself as, one of the disciples, right, with healing hands and all of the stuff, or that he's depicting himself as a saint or something of that nature. But that's just really not what it was. It's right. I think we all kind of got what it was, and I think that now. Do I believe that he knew exactly what it was? I don't think there's on any planet that he thought there would be that much negative outrage.
Right.
Or he wouldn't have deleted it, because Donald Trump doesn't delete a whole lot. Yeah. You can still find some of his old posts here.
Do you think he thought it was a Red Cross worker?
No. I'm not trying to say that.
No, it's an honest question. I mean, no, I
don't think so.
Maybe some people do.
Yeah.
But I'm an equal opportunity offended by. I'm actually more offended by this, because this is an actual attempt to recreate the image of Jesus, which is actually impossible to do, like an act.
Sure.
Now this is where my Presbyterianism is going to come out, because both are clear Second Amendment violations. But if I had to rank the two, I would put this one above it all. Tech company just like me has launched AI Jesus, which people can talk to or pray with for $1.99 a minute, and whose look was based on Jonathan Rumi, the actor who plays Jesus in the TV show The Chosen. So, I'm just if not more of it. And let me revise my statement about me being offended. Yeah, I was offended personally. Yeah, okay, because I'm like, okay, you're not God, and it seems like. That's the first thing that I thought. I guess secondarily, I was more concerned for President Trump himself. Does that make sense?
It's not a good look.
I was more I was concerned for him personally.
Oh, on a spiritual level?
Spiritual level, I was like, I continue to pray for President Trump and and pray for. I think he's got influence. We talk about the people that are around him.
Yeah.
I think people like Paula White are I think she's a false teacher, and for her to be like the head spiritual advisor, I know there are others, but for her to be like the head is a big problem. I think he's getting unbiblical counsel from people like Paula White.
Yeah,
I do believe that.
Well, if you've read, so I read a lot of Donald Trump's business books as a business owner, and it's pretty obvious that Donald Trump, if he is a Christian, has come to that very late in life, because it certainly was not prevalent in his early writings when he was talking about, just how he has no forgiveness in business. It was, I will get even with you, right? And that's where the whole Rosie O'Donnell feud first started, was in business, and the leading into The Apprentice and all of that stuff. They've been feuding for years and years and years, and it's because she said something negative about him, and he's just kind of gone after her, and she didn't back down, and so he went even harder, right? And so he just has that thing. I'm not offended by this. I also do not look to Donald Trump in any sort of slight capacity as any sort of spiritual leader for me in any way. And so the things that he does or doesn't do, the people with their false outrage on the left who say, oh, how could you support this blasphemy? They're the same ones that said nothing when drag queens were depicting the Last Supper at the opening of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And so spare me your fake outrage, Now, Christians seeing that and saying, whoa, Donald Trump, I support you. I believe in you. I believe that you're the right man for the job. I'm not looking to you for my spirituality, so don't share a picture depicting yourself as such. Okay? I don't like it. It doesn't give me a good feeling, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that I feel like that, maybe that's where you were with it. Regardless, Donald Trump is not my spiritual leader. I hired him, right, with my vote. I hired him to lead this country, not lead me spiritually. I take care of that with my church and with my Bible and in my own prayer time. So I think that there is a lot of fake, false outrage about this and probably have made this thing into something way bigger than what it was, because right now, if we had a booming economy, if things were rolling, we weren't involved in Iran, if job numbers were up, inflation was down, if
gas is cheap,
if everything was rocking and rolling, this would have gotten attention from the left. The right would be like, I just, a lot on the right, I would say, Paul. I don't care. Look, my paycheck is this much bigger. I mean, my family has, a much better life that Donald Trump is the president. So those are the things that I'm yielding to.
Yeah, so you're saying that it may not have been as big of an outrage if there weren't a growing bunch of people that are looking at things right now and
he's
saying,
in the negatives.
Are we kind of careening off a cliff here? What's going on? And this just kind of compounds it.
Yeah. His approval numbers are a good indicator of where things are going right now. And
I thought CNN said they were at 100%, though. That's CNN of all people, by the way.
It's the economy.
So I don't think this is an individual who believes that he's heavenward bound in general.
He said that recently.
That's
right.
true. Pray for him.
So think about it this way. Like, I don't look at this and be like, he thinks he's Jesus Christ superstar. No, not at all. I don't think he has that lens. So I don't think he assesses things like you and I do before we post anything on social media. I'm looking at it through the lens of who might this offend. And before I push send or post or whatever, I'm looking at things, and I've got a legal pad in front of me thinking, who's going to get ticked off about this, and who am I going to hear about, and what private messages am I going to get, or what am I going to be dealing with at work if I say something and the wrong person sees it. He doesn't do that, and he certainly doesn't think he's some Jesus Christ come to earth. I made it very clear when we were talking that I was not at all offended by this, because this is just baked into the cake, and we can call this bad politics if we want, but I don't care about that, because bad politics is him, and it's what sets him apart from the good politicians like Eric Fartwell and all these others that get into Congress and have stayed there and will be there forever until we wheel them out in a wheelchair. So, we got a few more years of bad politics, and I'm here for it. And if it offends people, I'm sorry, but I just that's just kind of where I land on this. It's not a personal thing where I think he's like, hey, let me put myself in as Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's what he posts. I don't think he thinks through things that way. He obviously doesn't think.
But we can all agree that it was a picture of Jesus in terms of it's a Christ-like figure we can all agree, right? Do the three of us agree that that's what that is supposed to represent? Because there are people that it's like they don't even want to admit that. And that to me is a red flag, where it's like, this is a picture of Donald Trump as divine, mimicking the photos that you can go find where Jesus is also divine.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's as clear as day. And the reason I bring it up is because, here's Megan Basham. Megan Basham is an author of a book called Shepherds for Sale. So she took offense to it. She says, I don't know if the president thought he was being funny or if he's under the influence of some substance or what possible explanation he could have for this outrageous blasphemy. But he needs to take this down immediately and ask for forgiveness from the American people and then from God, or from God and then the American people. And so I saw this post last night, and I thought, all of us saw what happened at Butler. So that was my standpoint was, what happened at Butler was, God has all of our days numbered, right? All of us. President Trump, he knows he is the Lord of when we exit this plane of existence. And on that day in Butler, he turned his head, however specific, and he was not supposed to check out, right? He was not supposed to check out. And so I immediately went to looking at him posting this, which I do think is, a blasphemous photo. You'd never post a photo of yourself in that context, right? None of us would. And you look back and you think, man, we need. I want President Trump, to recognize that there is a higher power, and he's not it, and maybe he does in some cases when he says, I want to get to heaven. I'm trying to trust my works to get to heaven, which is another reason we need to pray for him, so he's not, trusting on his own personal righteousness, because, everybody, no one's getting in based on that basis, literally no one.
As an active, faithful Christian, I've seen this picture with Jesus' head on there instead of Trump's cropped in 1 billion times growing up. Right. And so, yes, of course, I would never do that. But do I have that expectation of Donald J. Trump?
No, I get it.
Nope.
I get it. I'm trying to talk about how there are people, it seems like there's people that don't even want to admit what it clearly was.
Oh, right.
Because admitting what it clearly was would require some level of, hey, I disagree with him on this one thing. Here's Gunther Eagleman, for example, who said President Trump just posted this powerful painting on Truth Social. Trump stands radiant in a red robe, laying his hands on a sick man while surrounded by American symbols, the flag, Eagles, fighter jets, the Statue of Liberty, and everything. Heroes.
Come on, Gunther.
It's like, what in
That's
the
probably
world?
what President Trump thought.
Yeah.
I mean,
you may be right.
That probably goes in line with what Trump thought. I mean, he
well,
does think highly of himself.
I see a lot of the comments, and they're all kind of saying, like,
I get
move on, all that stuff or whatever. But
we're about to move on.
But it's the biggest. It was the biggest story of the day today, other than the Swawell breaking overnight.
Well, and we've got Hormuz,
and the big Strait of Hormuz. Yes.
So Laura Loomer says, we don't have blasphemy laws here in the U.S. If you want to be outraged over blasphemy, I suggest you move to a Muslim country where you can be given the death penalty if you depict Muhammad. Why don't we don't do that here in America? Well, so Lizzie Marbach says, we had blasphemy laws for most of our nation's history, actually. Christians will always be offended and crash out when our Lord is mocked. If you want to be able to mock Jesus without consequence, then go move to China or Israel. Now, that brings up this story, which I look at the news as a tapestry and almost an art every day when you look at the headlines. And so sometimes things just flow. So I guess this was last month, though, and for whatever reason, I guess it came up in my algorithm. Britain adopts a backdoor blasphemy law. Rick Moran. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned blasphemy debate to get the blood pumping and temperature. After all, you get the incendiary mix of religion, politics, and free speech all rolled into one messy debate. In Great Britain, the debate revolves around whether the nation can be made safe for Mohammedans, as Winston Churchill charmingly referred to Muslims. And so it is getting harder and harder. Basically, in Great Britain, it's getting harder and harder to criticize the religion of Islam without having some sort of, the state coming after you in some way, right? We know this with the hate speech laws.
Sure.
Or we know this just in, the social media. People are getting arrested over there, left and right. So the question is, a couple of things with President Trump taking the post down and this. It's not a question of whether or not you have blasphemy laws, it's which one. Because you got a guy during the Biden administration that got arrested for squealing out and making tire marks on a rainbow sidewalk, right? That's blasphemy. You can't do that. We're going after you because, you're offending the woke sex religion. In this case, I think it's a really just something to make note of. President Trump took the post down. And I think that we should all kind of understand the power that Christians in America have within the Republican coalition. That when we do object to something, it is possible to get this administration to act. The fact that he took it down is a good thing, and I think we can use this, we should be able to use this as motivation to get other things corrected when we see a problem, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be called, oh, well, you're not a real MAGA person because, you were offended at something. No, reject that. Like, this is a coalition movement, and, if you disagree with something, I think you should vocalize it. All right, abject silence. Okay.
Spot on.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I just didn't have anything else to add to it.
No. I get it. So anyway, I had a bunch of other comments in here, a bunch of other potentials in terms of the reaction around, because obviously Catholics and Protestants agreed on this, which is a rare thing. Anyway, so in other news, we have the Strait of Hormuz. All right, so didn't get a peace deal with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was over there with the Iranian delegation in Pakistan, and it didn't work out. And so then yesterday, President Trump announced that he was going to be putting a blockade in front of the Strait of Hormuz, effective immediately. The United States Navy, the finest in the world, he says, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in and all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion, and the leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. So this blockade is now going to, I think it's just safe to say, economically, this is now the entire world economy. If there's no oil moving out of that strait, the world economy is in jeopardy right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I also think that there are some
I mean, we've got a lot of oil
positives
here
for oil companies here in the United States, and that is, Harris Faulkner was reporting. I was listening to a little bit of her show earlier, and she was reporting just how that there were empty tanker ships heading toward the United States, and it was to buy American oil, because they're just in this position where this is going to happen. And I keep going back to, nothing has ever made sense to me about the Iranian thing. Now, Marco Rubio gave a passionate, like, let me put this to you real simple. This is what Iran was doing, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just don't, I want to give it more credit than, hey, we're trying to save the world by making sure that Iran, the number one, I mean, honestly, aren't they the number one state sponsor of terror in the world? I don't know that there's anybody else that gives more money to terrorist organizations than Iran.
Yeah, generally, I've heard that, my whole life.
Right.
And so, that, or maybe Saudi Arabia and Wahhabism. I mean, maybe they were a contender at one point.
Yeah. But again, nothing made sense to me until someone made the connection of the Venezuela, then Iran. Two of the biggest oil distributors for the world, and we took over, basically trying to sort of take over both flows of oil. Now, much easier in Venezuela, but, I think the United States has a partnership now with Venezuela. We haven't really heard much about this recently, but we have a partnership. So I think that the United States is going to benefit financially every time Venezuela sells oil going forward. And it makes me wonder if they're also trying to do that with the Iranian supply, which is why regime change would be the only way for that to happen. I don't know. Maybe that's giving too much credit, saying he's playing 3D chess and all of that stuff. I don't know. But it didn't make sense to me because Iran has been close to a nuclear weapon for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. For as long as, for 30 years. Yeah.
Correct. Just saying.
Eric, feel free to sound off, Eric.
Well, so speaking of chess, like, what's the next piece? Who's on offense and who's on defense? Because as far as the way the chessboard is lining up, because you have now 2 U.S. destroyers cruising around, sweeping for mines. You have Iran saying, okay, now the strait's closed again, and nothing can get by unless the ships come right by this little path that we want you to and pay a big toll to be able to go through. China's got to be freaking out because this is where they get the vast majority of their cheap oil. They don't want to have to go buy it on the open market. So, what happens here? There's all these ships now that like, you gonna go? You gonna go first? Nobody wants to go across in the middle of a bunch of mines.
Well, there's also a risk of World War III here.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying too. I mean, are we talking about? Is he trying to force China's hand with a trade deal as well?
Well, but on that, we can complicate things here.
Okay.
R.N. McIntyre, interesting. It appears the new strategy is to make the Strait of Hormuz is everyone's problem and compel Europe to apply pressure or join the fight directly. The problem is Europe really doesn't have much of a military. This is the problem because they relied on NATO and we're NATO.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, does the admin have the will to hold to a globally unpopular course with serious economic implications? Here's the deal. China is now saying, this is from India Today, don't interfere. China fires warning shot at U.S. over Hormuz blockade. The defense minister, Admiral Dong Jun, warning coincided with the with the start of the. Are you laughing at comments or this guy's name? With the start.
Well, the first laugh was Paul Harrell brisket prices are too high. I just saw that for the first time on your Chiron.
Yeah. Well, they are.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead a populist revolution.
And then the minute you said Dong Jun, he and I looked at each other. Our eyes met.
We're so immature over here.
It just is what it is.
Sorry.
I mean, bless those Chinese heart. They have
Lord.
names that are,
Bless.
you
What was
know.
that radio voice you gave the Dong Jun?
Dong, Defense Minister Admiral Dong Jun.
Yeah, see? It's funny.
Warning coincided with the start of the U.S. naval blockade on Monday. So listen to this. A senior Chinese official has warned the United States against imposing a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz and cautioned it not to interfere in China's bilateral relations with Iran. So China already has trade deals with Iran over this oil. Okay, quote, we have trade and energy agreements with Iran. We expect others not to interfere in our affairs. Their waterways. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the situation. Does China just try to go up in there or come out of there and just dare the United States to do something about it?
Yeah, what is...
Because that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think China is just going to sail in and dare the United States to do something, to enforce the blockade.
Yeah.
And so now you have two superpowers that could potentially go kinetic and just... It just is what it is.
He'll put a call in. That's
they're supposed to have a summit, too. In a couple of weeks, Trump's supposed to go to China.
Yeah, and Trump has enough of a relationship with him to where he can put a call in and he can work this stuff out and he can talk through this. In my opinion, I believe he does. I believe he has that relationship and that open line of communication. I don't know that, but I think he does.
Well, no, I mean, they do. I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
You know, they have...
Different than any other administration in the past couple decades.
Anyway, Strait of Hormuz, man.
Strait of Hormuz. You know, it almost sounds like a cheesy porn title. We're going to see Ginger at the Strait of Hormuz.
So,
Strait of Hormuz.
Pivot.
So the price of oil is now fallen from $93 to $91.91. There we go.
Where are we at?
The price of oil.
91.
We were just at 93, but that was a few hours ago that I had that pulled up there. So
trending in the right direction, Paul.
Yes, we are. So what if we reset here? Coming up here in a minute, we're going to talk Eric Swawell. When we come back from break, we've got Eric Swawell and his political...
Creepy. He knows about the Strait of Hormuz.
Here is a guy, yeah. What was it? Was it a Brazilian nanny? Is it Brazilian nanny he had?
Yeah.
That's now come to light as well. Also, apparently
There's
on video
4 or
with
5 other
sex worker.
girls that are coming by now. It's pretty bad.
It's a lot. It's approaching.
One girl's got a husband too that's speaking out, and he's pretty ticked off.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Will it approach Tiger Woods territory in terms of numbers? Who knows? We'll have to. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, folks. This is the Paul Harrell program. We're going to talk Eric Swawell when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching.
The Paul Harrell program.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Broadcasting here live from the state of Arkansas on LFA TV, as well as on the Paul Harrell Program YouTube channel. Whatever you're doing, like, share, subscribe. Follow LFA on Rumble. Like, share, subscribe. Paul Harrell Program on YouTube. And we appreciate our Facebook audience as well as our hometown TV audience. Really do appreciate it. Here with my co-host Rob Spencer, as well as Eric Haynes. And we're going to talk about Eric Swawell. Now,
Creepy.
we should have probably known that it was all going to be downhill for Eric Swawell.
Dude is a date raper, allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm gonna say allegedly.
So we should have known it was all downhill when he broke wind on MSNBC with Chris Matthews, thrill up my leg.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last
It'll never not be funny. I'm instantly a 10-year-old boy,
You can see his shoulders move.
yeah,
like,
it's like,
Yeah. Well, and his voice broke a little
Yeah.
bit when he did it because he just had to squeeze it out.
That's what you call
know?
the flatulence release.
Yes.
I mean, you can see it.
So he is now officially done. We have now over 50.
Oh, breaking news. Eric Swawell set to resign from Congress.
Well, that's good. That's good because they were going to kick him out anyway. He really didn't have a choice.
Wow.
The House, we can report this. The House Ethics Committee had just launched an investigation into Swawell following credible rape allegations. And you had people like Nancy Mace. I believe she was on the air saying, look, he either's going to resign or we're kicking him out this week. We're going to take a vote and remove him from the House of Representatives this week.
And if you followed Nancy Mace at all, she was going to keep beating that drum. That woman is not just lip service there. She meant it. She was going to go after. It was going to be a crusade against him.
100%. Now, the what's really at play here is California's jungle primary. You guys familiar with a jungle primary?
Jungle primary. I am, but explain it for the audience.
Well, so we're just going to read this. We've got Wall Street Mav say the fall of Eric Swawell is a coordinated power play by Democrats.
Yep.
Because California is this close to getting a Republican governor.
He was the easiest because he had all this dirt.
Well,
it's not like they made this stuff up.
He's also now an example how many other Democrats and Republicans, for that matter, because we can bring up Epstein here all day long, how many other of these politicians have compromising information, blackmail that's out there that's being kept for this very reason? And Eric Swawell refused to go away into the sunset. He refused to know his place within the party apparatus. I mean, this guy he was already on thin ice because of Fang being on the Intelligence Committee. I mean, it made no sense that this guy thought he could still do this. And the Democrats said, we asked you to drop out. You refused to drop out. And so now we're going to release all this compromising information on you and the Me Too movement. We're going to bring the Me Too movement back just for a little while.
So they're going to rally around Katie Porter, though?
Gosh, man.
Like,
that woman is
what
insufferable.
a disgusting individual.
Now, Katie Porter, is she the former congresswoman that was grooming, like literally grooming naked one of her staff members? Is that her? Or
I don't know.
She's the one that just goes off like a dirty Karen.
Okay, I'm thinking
Karen.
of somebody else. I'm thinking of the other. Who am I thinking? Who's the Congress lady
Get out of my effing shot. Remember, she said that to one of her staffers.
Her staffers,
that was right behind her. She's a terrible individual.
Yeah, well, so California has a jungle primary system, meaning that the top 2 candidates in the primary advance to the general election regardless of the party. The Republican candidates are overperforming enough that Democrats are worried that the 2 general election candidates would be Republicans. In order to consolidate the Democrat vote, one of the candidates had to drop out, but Swawell refused. That's all the party leadership needed to start releasing all the dirt that they had collected on him throughout the years. They don't care about the victims, only that it was too stubborn. He was too stubborn to step aside, so he got the nod. And of course, Steve Hilton, who used to have that Fox News show, which was always this was back in Trump. I guess he was on back. I found him back during Trump's first administration, and I always found his monologues to be, quite insightful.
Yeah, they're objective.
Yeah, quite insightful. And so he's
got the British accent too, right?
Yeah, which you think that might be appealing to some of these woke Californians who are on the fence. But I want somebody that sounds smart. I, as your governor of California, will lower your taxes. I promise.
Oh, bollocks!
Yes, yes.
Listen,
goes around saying the word bloody because over here we don't think it's as big of a cuss word as they do over there.
Yeah, it's the F word.
Yeah.
It's the F word, man.
Yeah.
I'll just say this about Congressman Eric Swawell and his insufferableness. He admitted that his parents are conservatives?
Oh yeah, they watch Fox News all the time. He
he
talks about it all the time. But it's his way of making snide little jabs.
And I don't want to make light of this. If these allegations are true, if the allegations that his former staffer made is true, this dude needs to go to prison.
Yeah. Some of the pictures I've seen today are absolutely. They're not AI pics.
The video on your screen here. This is the video of him with a sex worker, forcing his tongue down her throat. And you got to wonder though, who are the other people?
Why is it playing on a loop, Paul?
I'm sorry. Well, that's just Twitter. That's just X. Who are the other people in the room?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who are the other? Because there's another video.
Listen, it might have been a gangbang.
Well, somebody that said, I'll file this away for some.
You're exactly right. And there's another video where he's he grabs her and there appears to be another sex worker in the background.
So this woman is allegedly a porn star.
Okay.
They said her name or something, but they don't know like her real name. They do their stage name, but I saw it in a post. I didn't save it. But all I can
second adult film industry reference of the show.
And this one was legit. I'm just being dumb. I was just being dumb on the first one.
That's true.
This one, it was like I was just like, I don't want to engage with this because then it's going to show you more of this. But it makes you think. When you think about all the stuff that Eric Swawell and his insufferableness and how he's constantly he's the kind of guy that he's not as bad as that Indian guy or whatever his name is.
The eyebrows.
Kandahar or Sandahar.
That guy he gets slammed and he just keeps coming. Like he just ignores the fact that you slammed him, and that's a cultural thing. But I just want to say this about Eric Swawell. It could not have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
this is karma.
Allegations aside, this guy's political career is now over. But I truly, truly, truly hope that if he if these allegations are confirmed that there's a perp walk, that this guy ends up in prison. Because if girls go and they're talking about having drinks and they go to the bathroom and they come back and they don't remember anything after that, you know what happened.
You got Swawelled.
Yeah, they got Swawelled and put something in her drink. And, I'm like, man.
Dude.
That is.
Katie Hill. All right, so I was confusing is it Porter?
Yeah.
I was confusing Katie Porter, who was the get out of my effing shot girl.
Yeah.
With Katie Hill. Yeah, Katie Hill announces amid allegations because she was
Porter is the one who's now front runner for the Democrats. She's got had 13% or something like that as far as the breakdown in California.
Yeah.
Of support. And now that I guess they'll just rally around her, which is wild. Or they'll go to the there's another guy that's in third place. It's a billionaire. I forgot his last name, but they'll either rally around her or him. But it's
I think she's tarnished, but I think it's gonna, they don't care about personalities, so they're not going to care that she's rude to her staffers or anything like that.
Look what Virginia did.
Yeah, of course. And so the thing about Katie Porter though is she's quick. She's quick. If you'll remember her questioning Starbucks CEO and all of these billionaires would sit in front of her, and she was slick with her graphs and showing, you have this person working for you and you pay them this much per hour, and here I pulled the actual cost of a house in that area or rent and all of that stuff, and the person was in the negative. And making that, I believe it was I think it was Starbucks, but made him go through what he's paying an employee versus what it would cost for them to live there. And I mean, it's not relevant, right? Because if you can't afford to live there working that job, then you have to get a different job. We all get all that stuff. But at the same time, she was pushing for, $30 an hour minimum wage, which is just ridiculous. But I'll just say this, don't underestimate her just because she's had, I can't stand her, but she's smart. And I think she's going to do really well in a debate.
Interesting. But anyway, so the news is that Eric Swalwell has resigned officially, right?
That's
what she's. All right.
Gone.
So he's gone. He's resigned.
New York Times is reporting it.
New York Times reporting
from the U.S. House.
From the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amid the sexual assault allegations and pending investigation from the House Ethics Committee, as you were
like I said, they were going to get rid of him.
Yeah,
him and at the at a bare minimum, and I say this as a bare minimum. I mean, he should have been. He was a national security threat. This guy.
Well, he's been. Yeah, he's been for a while.
Yeah, I mean, so.
Mike Johnson, first thing he did was kicked him off of that intel committee. But I was sitting there thinking, why the hell was he on it in the first place? After that Fang allegations came out, why in the world was he left on it?
This is a perfect segue, and I know you got to get out of here in about 13 minutes, Rob. But this is a perfect segue into Adam Schiff, because you had Swalwell and Schiff on the same committee back during the Russia collusion hoax and back during the phony impeachment. And by the way, I think this is also why Tulsi Gabbard. We had all these rumors about Tulsi Gabbard's next to go. She's the next to be fired. And I think it's because the deep state does not want her exposing what she exposed today, declassifying documents, and essentially exposing the intel apparatus, the intel oligarchs that have turned their powers against the American people. So today, DNI Tulsi Gabbard exposes conspiracy. This is from the government website, dni.gov. Exposes conspiracy used by Congress to impeach President Trump. The Intelligence Community Inspector General Atkinson aggressively advanced a so-called whistleblower's narrative using a witness who co-authored the 2017 Russia hoax that was used as the basis for Trump's impeachment. Some of the bullet points. During his preliminary investigation into President Trump's July 2019 phone conversation with Ukrainian President Zelensky, former ICIG Michael Atkinson did not follow standard Inspector General procedures and relied upon politicized, manufactured narratives, only conducting interviews with 4 individuals: the whistleblower, the whistleblower's friend, who was a co-author of the January 26,
Oh my
2017
gosh.
Russia collusion hoax, and a close colleague of disgraced former FBI agent Peter Strzok, and 2 character references who had zero firsthand knowledge of the July 2019 phone call. Despite a lack of any firsthand evidence, I.G. Atkinson proceeded to take actions to weaponize the whistleblower process and exceed his statutory jurisdiction by ignoring Department of Justice guidance and relying on only secondhand testimony to ensure the whistleblower complaint was released to Congress, referred to the FBI, and leaked to the propaganda media. Then, House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff and then Speaker Nancy Pelosi used this false secondhand narrative to create media intrigue and ultimately spark the basis to impeach President Trump in December of 2019. A few caveats to this. We can go back and we can watch a couple of things. Let me find this one. So this is now CIA Director Ratcliffe. Adam Schiff covertly conspired with the fake whistleblower Eric CIA Ramella. That's his name, Eric CIA Ramella, in an attempt to overthrow the sitting president, and this is in 2025. Tulsi just declassified the memos today. Now I'm unclear. I think this is an old clip of Ratcliffe back when he was on the committee, or it could be one it could be from today. I'm not sure, but take a listen.
I can tell you one thing that we've learned very clearly, and that is that the Inspector General for the intelligence community can provide no information about the contacts between the Hipsy majority and the whistleblower.
No, this is an old clip.
Yeah, that's old.
Okay, well, listen to this.
I can tell you one thing that we've learned very clearly, and that is that the Inspector General for the intelligence community can provide no information about the contacts between the Hipsy majority and the whistleblower prior to his involvement. So the only way that we'll be able to get that information is from the Hipsy majority themselves. They are fact witnesses in the same investigation that they are now running. Nowhere else in the United States of America can you be both a fact witness and the prosecutor or investigation in anything, much less an investigation to remove a president from office. It's entirely inappropriate. And Chairman Schiff should be disqualified from running an investigation where his committee members or staff are fact witnesses about contact with the whistleblower and the whistleblower process.
So they basically committed treason to do this. Here is Jonathan Turley on Adam Schiff.
It doesn't get much more serious than that. The chairman of the House Intel Committee doesn't have declassification authority over these types of documents. They are made available to Congress under very tightly controlled rules. This has been a source of tension for years. And members of both parties have gone out of their way to assure that this material would be closely held and not weaponized. Schiff was viewed as one of the most political chairs of that committee in its history. And this is a truly chilling account, if true. Now, when I first read it, frankly, I was taken aback because it's perfectly moronic to commit such a felony with a planning conference meeting with staff. That's not usually how things are leaked in Washington, D.C. What makes this different, Will, is that this was a statement made to FBI agents. The person who made this statement was no doubt aware that lying to FBI agents is not just a crime, but a crime that was repeatedly prosecuted during prior administrations, including the Obama and Biden administrations.
Right.
So making this statement puts you at risk. That's why someone's lying here and someone's a felon.
Okay, well, let's just for a moment.
And now he's a United States Senator from California.
Sure.
You know, Congressman Rick Crawford sat right there at Eric's table and told us about the crimes of Adam Schiff. And essentially he would go down to the skiff and receive these security, these classified briefings in the secured area, and he would just come out to the gaggle of reporters and just tell what he had heard. And he would tell it through his, partisan lean and not, any negatives on his side. Adam Schiff, if Swawell, if I was listing the people to go, Adam Schiff is next. And I don't know why he has not been prosecuted with some sort of crime. And maybe this is what it's going to be leading to. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard is setting the table here for some sort of accountability from Pencil Neck Schiff.
You would hope so. I mean, I don't know if you got this grand jury in Florida we keep hearing about as we're all waiting for some sort of accountability. You would hope so. But DNI Tulsi Gabbard is doing her job. She is exposing all of these crimes. She exposed last year that Obama requested the intelligence briefing to be the intelligence assessment to basically manufacture the whole thing. Like, I want a report from you guys that says that Trump's a Russian agent, basically.
And she's essentially turning that over to the Department of Justice, right?
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm wondering if that, too, is also, a part of the initial ouster of Pam Bondi.
Will there be handcuffed escorts? That's my question now. I mean, all this stuff that she's coming out, like, all right, well.
We don't have a country if there's not.
When this stuff is confirmed, it's way worse than it's, hey, we're pretty dang sure this is what happened, right? Now it's confirmed and there's no arrests. I mean, I think that's the worst. I think that's the worst thing that we can do.
Yep. Yeah. I go back to what I've said. The longer if these people stay free, it means we're slaves.
And how does that teach the next generation of kids growing up in a society where, crooks have crooks have gotten away with it before. It's not that that's nothing new, but this is bad stuff.
Well, yeah, that's why I've said for a while, like, I'd be totally fine with getting any of these people on. You had to get Al Capone on tax evasion when the guy was a murderer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care. I mean, ideally, I would want them to be put in jail for exactly what they did. Just for sake of history and clarity. But Paul Sperry, this is what he says about what these new revelations are. That the documents reveal the anonymous whistleblower secretly met with Democratic staff of former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff prior to submitting his complaint. So they gamed this all out.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was literally like, we are writing the script of how this is going to go, and we're going to use the media as a propaganda arm. And keep in mind, this happened after. When did this happen? This happened after Robert Mueller and have yourself a Mueller little Christmas.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All of that was put to rest because Mueller cleared Trump of Russia collusion, because the Mueller investigation was about covering up what they had done. It wasn't actually about, and yet half the country thought he was a Russian agent. The Mueller investigation, the Mueller testimony is a giant nothing burger. Mm-hmm. He's essentially an Alzheimer patient they're using as a puppet, foreshadowing what they were going to do with Biden. And as soon as that happens, as soon as the Mueller investigation is a nothing burger, they do this to try to keep it going, to have yet again another one. Now, Rick Crawford, you mentioned Rick. He's mentioned in this. Yet under direct questioning, the whistleblower, later identified by Real Clear Investigations as intelligence analyst Eric CIA Ramella, failed to disclose those contacts in interviews with IG investigators or on whistleblower forums, according to more than 350 pages of intel briefings Schiff classified as secret and locked up in a Capitol vault so he would never be caught. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford released the papers this morning after National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard declassified them last week. Justice Department insiders say the documents factor into an ongoing grand jury investigation into an alleged grand conspiracy by former Obama and Biden officials to illegally target Trump in political espionage activities. Nonetheless, IG Michael Atkinson, then the intelligence community's top watchdog, did not question the whistleblower's political motivations, truthfulness, or credibility. So he's a traitor. He's a traitor too. I mean, why would we expect anything different? We're talking about the intelligence community, which is really code for a bunch of criminals.
Yeah.
And so the guy that is supposed to be the watchdog, right? And, we can go back to all these inspector general reports. They never actually do anything. Remember John Durham? John Durham was going to have this, we're going to get arrests. That never happened. So,
the audacity here is wild so easily seen because they never would have thought that Trump would have won again. So
exactly.
There was no fear for them. They can play this scenario out and get together and strategize and, probably crack jokes about what they were doing because there was zero fear that this would ever come out. Because, of course, Trump's never going to win again. He's never going to be in politics again. We're probably going to get him thrown in jail over this.
We were in the midst of weaponizing the government and, Jack Smith. We got Jack Smith. We don't have to worry about any of this.
No.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and this was talked about ad nauseum, hey, what are we doing here? How can our own government go after the leading candidate for president leading up to, this in 2024? As soon as he announced in late 22, right? I guess it was November of 22. He announced that he was going to be running. And so as soon as he announced, that's when he was arrested. Like, he wasn't arrested prior to that.
Yeah.
And then they saw, Joe Biden's poll numbers tanking, and Trump announced, and I remember this specifically, he announced whenever interest rates shot through the roof and mortgages were like 8.5%. And, that's what I do in real estate. And so it was crickets. And that was right as Trump was announcing. So Biden's poll numbers were tanking. Trump enters the race, and then boom, here we go. The machine starts working against him. And we saw something just the most unprecedented. Well, all these indictments and a president was arrested. All of this stuff and corruption in Fulton County and the Manhattan DA's office and all of this, like all of this corruption, but it was so multifaceted and so
coordinated.
It
was coordinated.
That's right. And we saw all that. And damn it, now we're almost, we're over a year into this presidency, and we haven't had that accountability. I pray that Tulsi Gabbard releasing all of this stuff is the start of that.
It's why they've been trying to get rid of her. I mean, can we say that? Like, these voices online, they're like, oh, Tulsi's next because Tulsi, Joe Kent worked in Tulsi's office, and because Joe Kent resigned because he, can't, he's basically a conscientious objector. Like, I can't do my job anymore because I disagree with what we're doing. And, he's sounded the alarm saying, hey, this is not good. Israel's got too much influence, and everyone's upset with that. I mean, I'm not upset with it, but, people are. And then so they immediately launch into, oh, well, Tulsi's got to go then. Yeah. Tulsi's got to go. Tulsi is like the one person or one of the few that I feel like legitimately wants to hold the intel oligarchy accountable.
Yeah.
She's showing that here. She showed it last year. She's showing it here. And I think she's vital. So, like, the whole thing is Rick Crawford, who is, for those of you watching nationally, Rick Crawford is the reason he sat where Eric was last year, and we're going to get him back on the show, is because he's our congressman. Yes. He literally, the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, the Permanent Select Committee, HIPSI, House Permanent, whatever, however you say it, is our congressman.
His local office is here in our town.
Literally, yes. See, Arkansas's 1st congressional district, which is, mostly, it's like, it's eastern Arkansas. So, I know Rick. We know Rick. He sat right here, had an honest conversation, and he didn't release this. He can't release this until Tulsi declassifies it. He is working as he worked with her on a couple of he worked with her last year when they finally released the report that showed that Obama ordered the Russia collusion hoax to be manufactured intelligence. So I know we like to talk about a lot of hopium, a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys in the audience are like, well, Paul's a borderline black pillar. Yeah, I am sometimes, right? I'm a black pill bulimic. I try to call balls and strikes as I see them, and I know that all of this stuff, there's all these moving pieces that are going on with so much of what's going on. There's good guys, there's bad guys, there's people that are in the gray area. But this is a positive development that you have, somebody like Rick Crawford, for example, who is working to try to expose the crimes that have been committed. Will that mean that people are in handcuffs? It needs to, for the survival of this country, for the survival of our constitutional system. I mean, we talked to Jeff Younger the other day on the program, and he started talking about direct democracy. He said, I'm not a fan of direct democracy, but he said, fundamentally, the Constitution as it is right now, because it's not enforced, is an impediment to so many of the problems, fixing so many of the problems that we want to do. If you want to keep that system, if you don't want this next generation to start to be like, let's just give us a dictator, then these people have got to go to jail.
So Rick Crawford sat here and told us that he brought that to Tulsi, but obviously it's classified. So they were in the area, I guess, where he could bring this information to her. Yeah, because she, as the director of national intelligence, has access to everything that he has access to.
He said first that she asked him.
That's right.
I want to see this. Yes. And so then he said, here it is.
Here it is. And so it goes to show you how important that intelligence committee is in both the House and the Senate. And what we have is both of those are chaired by Arkansans, Tom Cotton and Rick Crawford. So Tom Cotton in the Senate, obviously, which further puts a highlight on why these midterms are so important, because all that can be found out.
Yeah, it's all going to get shut down.
Yeah, it's all going to get shut down. The Democrats are not going to want to talk about this. And if we go through these midterms and it doesn't end with Rick Crawford and Tom Cotton still the chairs of those committees, all of this goes bye-bye. And all the accountability that we could have would be what we could get before November, or really, I guess, technically January.
That's exactly right.
I just pray that that's not what happens. I don't also want 2 years of chaos in his last term, because there's going to be impeachments and all of that stuff. I want this to be the start of accountability, and I don't want to have an end to that accountability coming this November.
Yeah, I agree. Rob, I know you got to get, man. We're going to take another break, reset, and we're going to do a Lindsey Graham watch. You're going to miss Lindsey Graham.
I'll listen in.
But we've got a Graham watch coming Lady your G. way here in just a second. This is the Paul Harrell program, and we will be back here in just a moment.
The Paul Harrell program.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
Why is Red Vive different? What sets it apart? What sets us apart from the standard red light panels? This is a medical grade device, and what that means is the red light bulbs and the near-infrared bulbs have very specific wavelengths. If you think about the wavelength as the medicine, the 635, the 670, the 810, the 850, those were specifically chosen because those are the most powerful effectors of the cells. So those specific wavelengths, when they get into our body, when they affect our tissue, they spike energy production, they help with nerve pain control, they increase stem cell counts. There's very specific mechanisms that those specific wavelengths work at, and that's the medicine. So if you think of, say, medicine as an Advil or a specific steroid or a blood pressure medication, the wavelength is the medication. The other part of that, whenever you take a medication, is dose. Right? So you have the medication. So if you take 1 milligram of Advil, and the average dose of an Advil is 200 milligrams to 800 milligrams, it's not going to work. That doesn't mean the medicine's bad. It just means you didn't take enough. Right? And so even if you have the right wavelengths, first you have to have the right medicine, and then you have to have the right dose. And to have the right dose, in light therapy, you have to have enough energy. So you have to have a powerful bulb. The LED bulbs, or light-emitting diodes, have a specific wavelength, and that wavelength is the medicine. And the wavelengths that have been studied and published on that are the most powerful in affecting healing and the changes that we want to see with our bodies and our health are the 635 wavelength, the 670, 810 nanometer wavelength, and 850 nanometer wavelength. Those are all going to affect the mitochondria, the cytochrome C oxidase, and affect those powerful long-term changes and affect that downstream pathways. And that's what you get with RedVive devices. The highest efficacy, the best wavelengths, concentrated to help your health.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, so best wishes to Rob Spencer. I know Rob had to go, as he does Mondays around 5, so we even actually kept him. But we still got Eric with us. Eric Haynes, my friend, thanks for sticking around for a little bit longer.
It's been a great conversation so far.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really great. But it is that time where we have to we got to face the music. In this case, we've got to face the Lindsey Graham music. Here it is.
Senator Lindsey Graham loves New Wars.
It's time for Graham Watch.
This segment is called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him.
What's he saying out there?
We see you, Lady G.
I heard him saying something.
I just think he's singing.
Oh, yeah. So for this edition of Graham Watch, it's kind of a continuation of what we brought you on Friday. So Friday was a crazy news day, but it was a really good day for South Carolina Republican Mark Lynch. Mark Lynch, obviously challenging Lindsey Graham. We've interviewed him on this program. Mark Lynch is a Christian, an unapologetic Christian who says things like, I'm a successful business owner, and God has always been at the center of everything I do. And that's the center of his campaign as well. And so that's really good. A stark contrast from Lindsey Graham. If you're a South Carolina voter, you have somebody who's an unapologetic Christian to somebody who is ambiguous on that matter at best, but at worst is, they call him Lady G for a reason. Okay. So really not even that, it's not even a difficult choice if you really stop and think about it. And yet, on Friday, another primary opponent of Lindsey Graham by the name of Paul Dans. Paul Dans is a guy that helped write the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 plan, which, by the way, is a really good plan for the most part. The Project 2025 plan has proposals in there to ban pornography, like ban it, because pornography is a weapon that's been used against this country. It's destroyed our families. It's destroyed marriages. And it is a terrible scourge on our population. That's just one thing. I mean, that's who. So that's who Paul Dans is. Well, Paul Dans patriotically dropped out of the race on Friday. He patriotically dropped out of the race because he said, I don't have a chance. Mark Lynch has the resources, meaning the money, because Mark Lynch gave himself $5 million of his own money, and people are donating to Mark Lynch, and he said, I'm going to endorse Mark Lynch. I'm dropping out. My name's not even going to be on the ballot. He waited to the last day until his name, so his name's not going to be on the ballot to take any of the votes away. So now you have a situation where Mark Lynch has a real shot at defeating Lindsey Graham in the primary on June 9th. So, of course, we covered this on Friday in a panic, and I'm just telling you, in a panic. I'm talking about I think the military-industrial complex that backs Lindsey Graham because he loves new wars. They went to President Trump and said, hey, this has happened. Now it's going to be, they're not going to have somebody splitting the vote, or as many people splitting the vote. I think there's some more people that are in there. But and so Donald Trump went on Truth Social and attacked Mark Lynch and attacked Paul Dans because Paul Dans was a guest on Tucker Carlson's show. This on Truth Social on his own platform, this was met with a lot of backlash from people on Truth Social saying, how can you do this? Obviously, online, it was met with a huge backlash as well, with people saying, look, like, I get it. Like, I'm one of these people. Like, I voted for President Trump 3 times. I criticize him when I think, when he posts what he posted, images of Christ or, depictions of, like, I criticize that, support him when he does stuff good. But when it comes to Lindsey Graham, and there's no way I can, as an American who wants to put America first, back Lindsey Graham, a guy, walking around Disney with an aerial, bubble blower. And that's what's most recent. He could spend a lot more time at Disney if we can just retire him now on June 9th. So, no, I'm not backing Lindsey Graham because President Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham. And I think there's a lot of South Carolinians. By the way, in Pickens County, South Carolina, there's a viral clip of Lindsey Graham being booed at a Trump rally. This guy has been unpopular in South Carolina for a very, very long time. And now when he could be sent home, and it could be a huge message to the D.C. swamp, we now have to contend with this endorsement gate where, President Trump is once again endorsing a rhino, which he has done many times, and it's kind of something that gets overlooked. But with Lindsey Graham, who is the poster child, if rhinos had a mascot, it would literally be this person on your screen right here, this caricature, this AI caricature of Lindsey Graham. So on that, go ahead, respond to that if you want to, because I got more.
Keep going, bro.
All right. So on that, for this edition of Graham Watch, we're just going to do this report. Okay, we've got a bunch of stuff. Just a flashback about Lindsey Graham and his record. Okay.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that Lindsey Graham has always wanted a war with Iran, and now we have a war with Iran, and I pray that it goes. I pray that it ends. I pray that we don't have boots on the ground. But this guy was the other day talking about Iwo Jima and Karg Island. Iwo Jima, we took 30,000 casualties. 7,000 Americans died taking Iwo Jima. And he's saying, "Oh, the U.S. can do it." This guy is a disaster. He's a walking disaster when it comes to foreign policy. But he also wanted to shoot J6ers in the head. This guy was happy to pile on President Trump after January 6th, which was a hoax. January 6th was a Fedsurrection. And we all know that now. By the way, one of the reasons we know that is because Tucker Carlson did what Mitch McConnell did not want him to do. One of the reasons Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News was because he took the J6 footage. We all knew it was a Fedsurrection back then. But he actually aired the footage of the guided tour of the Capitol, of them walking around was it Buffalo Horns, man?
Yeah.
Walking him around like, oh, here you go, open and lock doors for him. Which raises obvious questions like, well, this doesn't seem like some sort of spontaneous insurrection. And then, of course, we find out in Trump's second administration, one of the best things that we found out about J6 in Trump's second administration is the plain clothed FBI agents that were on the ground, like 200 of them. So this is who Lindsey Graham is. This is who he was. Take a listen to this.
Yesterday, the Capitol of the United States was taken over by domestic terrorists.
Senator Lindsey Graham is calling for the prosecution of every person who breached the Capitol in D.C. during the pro-Trump riot Wednesday.
I'm calling for a joint task force to be assembled and spend all the time and money necessary to identify every person who breached the security of the Capitol, who occupied the chambers, who invaded offices and destroyed property.
Yeah, my question is about January 6th.
It wasn't peaceful. I was there. If it had been up to me, I would have shot some of these people in the head. Let me tell you why. They took over your Capitol. I don't care what the cause was. They destroyed the place.
Being with Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, Fanone described the assault officers faced. And Fanone writes Graham responded, "You guys should have shot them all in the head."
Senator Lindsey Graham, everyone. Also this, this was Trump in 2016. I really wish we had this version of Trump when it comes to Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is a disgrace, a nut job, and one of the dumbest human beings. Donald Trump this was during the election year in 2024. On April the 8th, so 2 years ago, just a little over 2 years ago, Donald Trump said this: I blame myself for Lindsey Graham because the only reason he won in the great state of South Carolina is because I endorsed him. Derek Evans said, yet you endorsed him again. We the people support Mark Lynch. South Carolina is one of the most conservative and Christian states in America. And it makes absolutely no sense to send Lindsey Graham back to Washington, D.C. And so here I politely and respectfully disagree with the president on this. And I think the people of South Carolina do as well, because they never even see Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, it's up to them to vote.
It's up to them. They don't even really see Lindsey Graham except once every 5 years when he's going to be back in the state campaigning.
Yeah.
And he serves his big money donors, and a lot of them are tied to, people that benefit from forever wars. If you don't think Lindsey Graham wants the Iran war, President Trump doesn't want the Iran war to become the next Afghanistan or Iraq. I don't believe President Trump wants that to happen. Lindsey Graham does, in my opinion, in my strongly held opinion. Lindsey Graham wants this, and his donors want this conflict to spiral out of control. And so, based on all of this, Eric, it's just insane. I mean, it is what it is. This is your Graham watch. Last clip here. Last clip. Lindsey Graham.
Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it the end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see. All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough. Trump and I have...
All right, so this was on the Senate floor January 6th. Said he was basically done. Count him out. So if Lindsey Graham can have that opinion then, I feel like the voters of South Carolina can say, we're going to respectfully disagree with President Trump, and we're going to vote for Mark Lynch. How do you see this?
I didn't think Trump's memory was that short. I don't know. This seems weird, this endorsement.
Well, let's just I think it's not just Graham, though. I mean, if it wasn't for the SAVE Act, John Cornyn would have already gotten the endorsement.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the SAVE Act being this, the thing.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I forgot to pull the ad, but I mean, John Cornyn's campaign is now cutting these really cringe-worthy ads because Ken Paxton went on Tucker Carlson's show.
Oh, right.
And they're now tying President Trump's attack against Tucker to try to attack Ken Paxton. Who, by the way, today actually announced, Ken Paxton today announced, do I have any more on Graham? Oh, we got Lindsey. But Ken Paxton today announced that he is investigating Lululemon pants.
Ooh.
For having cancer-causing agents inside their clothes, inside Lululemon pants. That Lululemon pants are, is that the next slide? Hang on. No, I don't see it. I don't have it. But I did see it, that Ken Paxton is investigating Lululemon pants. So, by the way, that's a big deal. Ken Paxton is really good about challenging Big Pharma and challenging the status quo and the whole MAHA agenda. I mean, Ken Paxton is a big guy with the MAHA thing.
Seems like he'd be great for the Senate.
Well, yeah, he would be. He would be fantastic. But there's a ton of stuff out there kind of in that MAHA movement about our clothes and about how much of the forever chemicals and things like that that are in our clothes, not just Lululemon.
This is what we have to worry about now?
Well, I mean, when it comes to our food supply being toxic and poison and everything else, the idea is that, well, the clothes have been made as cheaply as possible as well. What kind of, some people think that it's the, fire-resistant clothes, the chemicals they put on. Like in the 18th century, the leading cause of death of women was being burned to death. Because in the 18th century, they had, in these colonial homes, they had these massive fireplaces. and these women would cook over these massive fireplaces, right? You know, like with a trivet and everything else. Well, the clothes back then were very dry, and so if they tripped and they fell, they're going to just be engulfed in flames. And so it was like a leading cause of death back in the day, I believe, or at least I heard that. Maybe that's just fake news. I don't know. But
I'm not going to discount you on that one.
I've heard that. I don't know where I heard that, but I've heard that before. Anyway, Mark Lynch, Lindsey Graham doesn't support the SAVE Act. I support the SAVE Act. Lindsey doesn't. Graham is Senate budget chair. He could put the SAVE Act into reconciliation tomorrow and ram it through the Senate, yet he won't. Why? Because he opposes Trump's agenda. This is a very smart play by the Mark Lynch campaign to bring this up. Very, very smart. And the reason is the same reason it's a smart play in Texas. Even though Trump's already given the endorsement. And by the way, Trump kind of Trump had already endorsed Lindsey, but Trump re-endorsed him when Paul Dans dropped out, and they did it because it was I believe the deep state. By the way, that's another thing we got to talk about. The deep state, we obviously know is real. We just covered it. Lindsey Graham is that. Lindsey Graham works for the deep state.
Oh yeah.
And so they had a little bit of a panic on Friday. I can just tell you. Trust me, they had a panic on Friday, which is why we saw all of that, which was why we saw the Truth Social posts. And it's unfortunate that this is where we're at, but I was talking to a guy at church about this, a good friend at church, and he says, man, I support President Trump, but and I can disagree with him here or whatever, but I voted for him, 3 times and everything. But he says, I've always thought this. When it comes to my local elections here in Arkansas, Donald Trump's endorsement means absolutely zero.
Yeah.
And just because because he knows the forces that are at play. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these endorsements are about the money, the RNC, the United States Senate fund, the United States House giant campaign coffers. And so a lot of this, quite frankly, is the way it works, and it's pay to play. And that's kind of the way it is. Yeah. But it's unfortunate for the grassroots to succeed now. For the true grassroots to succeed, you have to, in some cases, ignore President Trump's endorsement. And we'll see if South Carolina does that. I don't know if that's going to actually happen. But okay, Eric, I know you've got to go now too, and I talked the whole time.
You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Crushed it.
So
it was a great conversation today, though.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to
a lot of stuff going on that we got to pray about, and God's in control.
Amen.
And all this stuff that comes out on a daily basis that we hash out and that we have our opinions about, it is what it is. But once we put all the cards out on the table, we all want what's best for this country. And I think we're all working towards that goal. Those of us that are, in this conversation and to our listening audience, we're all hoping for the best and trying to do our part, as little as that may seem. But we'll just keep our faith and keep our heads up and keep pushing forward.
All right, brother. Be safe.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Senator Lindsey Graham loves new wars.
That concludes our Graham
This
Watch,
segment's
folks.
called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him. We see you, Lady G.
That concludes our Graham Watch, ladies and gentlemen. For today, maybe we'll have another one for you tomorrow. Who knows? The situation is fluid. So there's another story that I want to get to. By the way, you've got me for another half hour here on the show until we hand it off to Secret America. Sorry, I blanked there for a second. Until we hand it off to Secret America. So there's a former Cleveland Clinic medical director by the name of Dr. Dennis Nades, or Nades, or let's just say Nades. Dr. Daniel Nades breaks down. Listen, this is wild. He breaks down in tears. I should have done this segment with Eric here as somebody in the medical community. Breaks down in tears, apologizing to all his vaccinated patients. It is. Maybe we'll do this next time you're on. We'll revisit this. But you guys got to hear this, because one of the things he says here, he says if somebody has strep throat and they come into the doctor's office and we give them penicillin, and then they call and they say, "Hey, I got my kid's got a rash." They're not treated badly. They're not shamed for having. It's marked in their chart. They're allergic to penicillin, and they're never given penicillin again. But he says for some reason, when it comes to vaccines, if you have a situation where somebody calls and says, "I had an adverse reaction to the vaccine," you are shamed by the medical community. You are called a vaccine denier. Listen to this.
So these are my big issues regarding vaccines, and these are the things that I'd like to highlight. Number one, there is no education in medical schools that I am aware of, and being an educator at the Cleveland Clinic Lerner College of Medicine and Case Western Reserve University, I am not aware of education around vaccines, their contents, safety records, informed consent, or the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. We do not discuss that in 1986, Congress enacted legislation removing all liability from pharma related to vaccine adverse events. What are we taught about vaccines? We are taught to memorize the vaccine schedule. And actually, I'm going to be sitting for my family medicine boards this year, and I am sure that I will have to memorize that schedule again in order to pass that exam. We don't discuss that almost $4 billion with a B has been paid to vaccine-injured patients since 1992. For medical professionals, we expect fair balance, but vaccines seem to be absolved from that consideration. Number two,
they're absolved.
There appears to be a conflict of interest regarding...
Why would the vaccines be absolved? Because of the money, because this is a gargantuan amount of money. In the 80s, they were given immunity. But going down the conspiracy theory road, which tends to always be right, these things that we're told we have to have are an excellent way to essentially treat the population of the world as as test subjects, as guinea pigs, as lab rats. Or, to go even further, to poison us intentionally. To poison us intentionally from these people that, remember the Georgia Guidestones that were destroyed? Some people say by a bolt of lightning. 1.21 gigawatts. A bolt of lightning allegedly destroyed the Georgia Guidestones, where they said that the ideal population of the world is under 500 million people. And so it's a very weird, the Georgia Guidestones. I mean, this is a real thing. You can look it up. So, the elites are obsessed with this idea, at least this is what they tell themselves. I just think they're evil people that want to murder. But they're obsessed with this idea of overpopulation, and that's a lie. The world is not overly populated. The real problem is underpopulation, as we're seeing that with collapsing birth rates. We don't have enough people on planet Earth, actually. And by the way, just on a 30,000-foot view, do you know why Jesus hasn't returned yet? One of the reasons why Christ hasn't returned is because he's not through saving souls. There are still people that have yet to be born that will come to a saving knowledge of faith in Jesus Christ to give glory to God for his amazing love, grace, mercy. There are still soldiers that have not yet realized that they are soldiers in his kingdom. That's one of the reasons. So take heart in that. We serve a great God. More from, again, this is Dr. Daniel Natus apologizing for vaccinating his patients.
Payments to providers for completing vaccine schedules. And corollary to that, which would be number 3, patients are being dismissed from practices because of, quote unquote, vaccine safety concerns.
This is true.
If you bring up a question about a vaccine and you decide not to vaccinate your child, you may be at risk of being terminated from that practice.
It happened here in my home state of Arkansas. I know a friend who got a notice in the mail. You didn't vaccinate, so you were no longer welcome to receive medical care at this pediatrician's clinic because the pressure is that severe.
Absolutely deplorable and disgusting. Number 4, and again to the Bailey family, I'm really sorry, but employers are forcing employees to receive the flu vaccine or face corrective action or job loss. And the fact that your dad was 6 months from retiring is... Number 5, there's a lack of informed consent, and I was one of those providers who didn't provide safety sheets before vaccinating. I would tell the parents, these are the vaccines today. We're going to give you 3 vaccines in one leg and 2 in the other. And then after vaccinating either the child or the adult patient, here's your information sheet. And again, to be completely transparent with you, I had no idea that there was even a mention of the compensation program or a telephone number to call. Absolutely deplorable on my part, and I apologize to my patients.
God bless this man for his public
Number 6, there's a lack of transparency regarding vaccine complications. And worse, you're being shamed as patients for suggesting that you were harmed by a vaccine. If I see a patient in the office and diagnose strep throat and give them penicillin, and either the mom or the patient themselves calls and tells me that they developed a rash, there is zero question. The chart now states they have an allergy to penicillin and will never be given it again. Why don't we believe parents and patients when they tell us they have had an adverse event regarding a vaccine? It doesn't make sense to me as a medical professional. I apologize for being emotional.
No, it's perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly okay for you to be emotional. And there's other doctors. There's doctors here in my hometown that recommended the COVID vax and then told their patients to never take it again and apologized to them. Those are the good ones. I've often wondered, though, if the truth about COVID were to ever come out, and Anthony Fauci were ever to be truly exposed and arrested and prosecuted for things like remdesivir. The hospitals in New York famously came out at the beginning of COVID after treating their patients with remdesivir and were claiming that COVID was causing secondary kidney infections. That's terrible. The COVID is causing these secondary kidney infections. When it was the remdesivir, if you go look at the study remdesivir was used, that Anthony Fauci even cited as why it could be a therapeutic for COVID, remdesivir was causing massive kidney failure and death in the trial studies in the Ebola. It was an Ebola study trying to combat Ebola. Remdesivir was killing people even then, and that was the study he used. That very study was the one he used to say to hospitals, give your patients remdesivir. How many people walked into hospitals with COVID and never left because they were given remdesivir? A lot. So I've often wondered from a doctor standpoint, like because a lot of the doctors, unfortunately, a lot of the doctors are woke or they're liberals. And I've often wondered if it's ever dinner table conversation. Like when I say if it's ever dinner table fact, if it's just it's as known as the fact that the sky is blue. If it's ever widely accepted what COVID really was and what the doctors participated in some cases unbeknownst to them, and some others I think there's some psychopaths. But if doctors ever came to terms with what they gave their patients, what they were told to give their patients, specifically with remdesivir, you would have a lot more repentance like this, or you'd have people on suicide watch. If they really, truly understood this dragon machine. I've called it this for years. It was a dragon machine that was built under our very noses. You know, Ronald Reagan would warn about it. You know, socialism's coming, and they're going to use medicine. They're going to use healthcare as a way to get their foot in the door for socialism. And he was right, but it was so much worse than that. It was like we had already, by the time he even said that, it was lost. And what they built was this disgusting machine that was turnkey ready. It was communism, and it was turnkey ready. And COVID happened. Anthony Fauci flipped a switch, and it was a top-down totalitarianism on all of our institutions. And it was run by a man, and it was run by a bunch of elites that knew exactly what they were doing. You couldn't have scripted it any better. During a presidential election, it was a way to remind us of how much we need mother government, how much we need the government. And Donald Trump was their key target, was the 2020 election, and mail-in ballots, and then, of course, you know, the voting machines obviously are rigged as well. But it was, they literally threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at the problem of American nationalism and American populism. And we still have people in power today who don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit what really went on, which was, they intentionally culled the herd. Across the world, but in America specifically, they intentionally culled the herd with remdesivir and then the vaccine, where now myocarditis is a phrase all of us are familiar with, a word all of us are familiar with when we never even heard of the phrase before COVID. Hats off to former Cleveland Clinic medical director Dr. Daniel Natus. Hats off to you for your public confession and repentance. And hopefully this will be used to wake even more people up about what actually went down and what we were exposed to. What actually happened. Crimes occurred. Severe crimes. So last up, we're going to talk about a woman by the name of Rosaria Butterfield. For those of you who don't know, Rosaria Butterfield is a fantastic Christian author. Rosaria has this incredible testimony because she used to be an English professor, and she used to be a leftist, and she used to be a lesbian. And by the grace of God, who is rich in mercy and forgiveness, he saved Rosaria. Thanks to the Christian witness of her neighbor, a pastor, she eventually came to faith in Christ and is now married, and has been for a long time, married to a pastor herself, and she's a mom and a wife. She's a mother and a wife. And she's written countless books. Well, I don't know about countless, but she's written a lot of books. And she's been deep in the enemy's counsel and steeped in all of this LGBTQ, RSTLNE woke sex religion. And she is a perfect anecdote to describing to Christians exactly what we need to be doing in combating this woke sex religion. And one of those things is calling out the wolves among the church who are trying to get us to not call sin, sin. And she's really, really good at that. And so for the end of the show today, we're going to focus on her statements here. Melissa the Hopeful, the Homemaker, says, Rosaria Butterfield boldly sharing truth at an Answers for Women conference this weekend, apparently after eating a breakfast of grape nuts sprinkled with gunpowder. So this is the Answers for Women conference that was this past weekend. And we don't have the actual clip. We just have a cell phone video of it. But we're going to listen to it and see what Rosaria has to say.
Right? I mean, to ask the Holy Spirit to help me be courageous and to tell you that it's a sin to tell a lie, but it's also a sin to believe a lie. And so there is no such thing as a gay man or a lesbian woman or a transgender woman. And then, you know, you can fill in all of the different categories that come under the umbrella LGBTQ. And the reason is because in Genesis, where we have to start, we are given our identity. Our identity is in the image of God, bearing it as a man or as a woman. There are two kinds of people in the world, a man or a woman. A man who says he's a gay man is a man with a sin pattern that Jesus came to help set him free from if he will mortify it, repent, believe, go to war. It's very hard to do that. I'm not suggesting it's easy, but that is our job. And you know what? It's not just somebody whose indwelling sin is homosexuality who happens to have that call. It's everyone, because we are all born in the sin of Adam. And it is because of the sin of Adam that we have sin in our nature. And that, quite frankly, means that every person in this room needs to wake up every morning, drive 1,000 fresh nails into your choice sin, and do that before breakfast, and then do the same thing before lunch. Okay? And if you do that, Satan's going to get a little tired of you. But here's the problem. Homosexuality is the only sin pattern with a civil rights group behind it. And therefore, people who were deceived, as I was and Christopher, by the lust of our flesh, have like a cheering community behind you. And this is where you get the rub. You see, it used to be that the church was clear and the world was the world. But because we have wolves in shepherd's clothing, we have way too many young people who are leaving the true church and claiming, well, my same-sex attracted pastor told me it's not a sin to be gay. And, you know, we are to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. I want to be gentle with the people who are trapped in the lie of LGBTQ, but I am not gentle with the wolves. And I'm going to tell you why. Not your mama, okay? I am not the mama of these fallen men. I quite frankly think they need to get a job selling insurance until they repent. And I am resisting singing the Liberty jingle to you because I'll save my oratory for later. But seriously, I do think that we need to have strong Christians reminding especially you, dear sisters, who have loved ones, prodigals, who are lost for now, that worldviews have consequences, bad ones have casualties. And if your sons and daughters, or husbands and wives, or grandmas and grandpas, if people you love are trapped in that way, you get to know how they got there. So the reason there should be no such thing as a same-sex attracted pastor is this. Homosexuality is found in the flesh. It's forbidden in the law. It's overcome by the Savior.
Amen. And yet, she refers to them as wolves. Notice what an interesting distinction. You know, it needs to be repeated. To be gentle and loving with somebody who's clearly struggling with sin, and this goes for any sin, but we'll specifically take the sin of the age, which is sexual immorality, which covers more than just, you know, homosexual lust. It also covers heterosexual lust, which is all over our culture. And you can make the I think the reasoned argument quite logically that if we hadn't had such loose morals when it comes to, you know, heterosexual lust, that homosexual lust wouldn't be here in its current capacity. I don't think you get the homosexual LGBTQ culture without being okay with you know, massive divorce rates and adultery and everything else. Heterosexual adultery. Now, by the way, just by using I also say, this is my pet peeve, the fact that we even use the word homosexual instead of just sodomy or sodomite, it shows you that we lost a battle a long, long time ago. We've already caved to describing this in a way that is the most charitable, which gives us the acceptance, and treating the plight of LGBT as the plight of blacks in the 1960s in the civil rights movement. And it's just really comical when you think about it. But what she says here about treating people struggling with sin with gentleness and kindness and love, but not excusing their sin, but understanding that it is a struggle and wanting them to come to faith in Christ, versus the wolves in these pastors that are trying to excuse same-sex attraction because the culture wants them to. Try to excuse the same-sex attraction as some sort of evangelism strategy and how evil and wicked it is. You can go to the easy examples of these woke mainline denominations that are husks of their former selves, that have the rainbows outside of their churches. They hang the rainbow flags and everything else, and you think of the verse, especially when you have parents bringing their children, to the lady pastor who now identifies as a man, and you think about the children, and you think about the millstone verse. It would be better for a millstone to be hung around your neck and thrown into the sea than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. But you also have people trying to push the envelope who are not so overt with the rainbow flag on the front of the church building that lets everybody know what kind of church, an apostate church, it really is. You also have people trying to be subtle with it, and they're trying to get away with. They're trying to make homosexual lust somehow not lust. So lust is wrong. All lust is wrong. Covetousness is wrong. And actually, I got this from Rosaria in one of her articles a long time ago, where she talked about how part of the sin of the LGBT, whether you're trans or whether you're just gay, is that you're coveting something that's not for you. So if you're, in her case, former lesbian, so if you're a woman and you're desiring another woman, you are coveting that which is not set aside for you. You're coveting something that is not God's plan for your life. It's not God did not create, you're a woman, God did not create another woman for you. So there's all kinds of sin and ways to describe this that, and by the way, the Bible speaks to the remedy for these things too. So it's really good to specifically identify this stuff scripturally as best we can. So Rosaria Butterfield doing the Lord's work at this women's conference, really good stuff. And I wanted to highlight it because she's calling out the wolves within the church, and that certainly needs to continue in a really big way. So I hope that was enlightening for you guys. It's good to see people speak out against the lies of the world the way they do. Real quick, I'm checking on a few headlines here before we go to see if we have anything else. Real quick here. Eric Swawell did. We reported this earlier. Eric Swawell has resigned from Congress. And we still have, okay, so this is what so we now have we first reported this at in the first hour from India Today, but now the Right Scoop has this. So let's go here, because let's end with the blockade, because this is a big deal. Gas prices. Let me check what the price of gas is. It was that. Let me refresh here. So it's $91.85. Right Scoop reporting, China sends warning to U.S. over blockading their ships. China has sent a warning to the United States over the blockade of their ships, which they say are moving in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, and expected that to continue. China has signaled support for Iran. No surprise there. warned against interference after the United States announced a naval blockade targeting Iranian maritime traffic. Responding to the move, China's Defense Minister Dong Jun said Beijing was committed for peace and stability in a world that was monitoring the situation in the Middle East. Our ships are moving in and out of the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. We have trade and energy agreements with Iran. We will respect and honor them and expect others not to meddle in our affairs. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and it is open for us. The comments came after the United States Central Command said its forces would begin implementing a blockade of all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iran ports from 10 a.m. Eastern on April 13th. CENTCOM said the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering and departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports of the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. The U.S. forces will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports, it added. Right Scoop notes this does set up a tricky situation. However, President Trump has made clear that the entire point of doing this is to clear the Strait of mines. Hopefully, China will not escalate this blockade into military action. Okay, so we're going to have minesweepers out there, but you do kind of wonder if China, you got to wonder what China's going to do. China's saying, look, we're going in. We don't care about your blockade. We're going in. We're getting our oil. We're coming out. We're going to act like this blockade isn't a thing. So now we have the potential for conflict between two superpowers in the Strait of Hormuz. So I continue to say this, and I want you to understand this is not a cop-out because it's just easy to say, but just continue to pray. Pray over the situation. Pray for peace. Pray for President Trump. Pray for all parties involved, and pray for our men and women in uniform that this does not spiral out of control. That sees them sent to the Middle East in any sort of ground invasion, massive ground invasion for regime change, because the loss of life will be consequential, and I don't want that. I don't want our American soldiers to die. So continue to pray for that as it comes to mind. Please do. Also, real quick, we have, we already told you that one, so you'll have to forgive me from that one. Eric Swawell has in fact resigned from Congress, so that's a big deal. He resigns from Congress amid sexual assault allegations, and another accuser is now coming forward. This is quite the fall from grace. I don't think Eric Swawell ever had grace in terms of political charisma. He was always just kind of a place filler, if you will, and he overstepped his bounds. He refused to get out of the governor's race in California, so the Democrat Party took him out with hidden blackmail. Like, that's the real story here. The Democrat Party took him out with blackmail because they did not like the fact that a jungle primary in California may benefit the Republicans. That's all the time that we have for this edition. Like, share, subscribe to this video if you're watching on my YouTube channel. If you're watching from LFA TV, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe and share this video out on Rumble. We really very much appreciate it. Thank you to everybody at LFA, the LFA team, and we will see you guys tomorrow. God bless. We'll hand it over to Secret America.
The Paul Harrell Program.